So this is going to be a follow-up on the podcast I did earlier on three institutions limiting your life. And so if you're going to listen to this particular podcast I'm doing right now, I would really advise you to stop and listen to that podcast called Three Big Institutions Limiting Your Life. Because then you might get better context to what I'm going to be talking about today, because I'm going to be expounding on some things. When I put out that podcast, one of my mentees reached out to me and he asked me, okay, so what do we do with the banking system? Because I pointed out banks, schools, and religious organizations or religious institutions as three institutions that have the propensity and ability to distort our lives and hamper our freedom. And if you listen to that podcast, you would find out why I pointed out these three institutions. So I'm not going to go over that again. I'm just going to try to address the question from my mentee who now asked, all right, so if these institutions are limiting my personal freedom and kind of distorting my view on reality, what do I do? Do I stop putting money in banks? Do I drop out of school? Do I stop going to church? If I'm a Christian, do I stop going to the mosque? Do I stop, going to these religious institutions? And I wouldn't advise you do that. I, I think the way the world has been structured, it's incredibly hard to do that. And in doing stuff like that, you might meet a lot of challenges that will distract you from even making progress in life. So you see yourself fighting more than progressing. You see yourself fighting more, defending yourself, arguing with people than progressing. I do think that these three institutions play a particular role or have particular functions in our lives that are not destructive functions. I must make that clear. I wouldn't say the bank is a destructive institution, but then it has the ability to disrupt some very fundamental things in our lives. And the same thing with schools and churches and religious institutions. They do have that propensity to distort our lives and take our life off balance. So what do you do? Do you stop putting money in banks? Do you drop out of school? Do you stop fellowshipping with people of the same faith? No. I think that would be throwing out the baby with the bathwater. I think what I would recommend you do is to use these things rather than letting them use you. Is to ensure that you are more in the driver's seat and these things be in the passenger seat, these institutions. Because the truth of the matter is where they become dangerous is the fact that they struggle to be the drivers of the car called your life. And you must never allow them to drive your car. You must always drive your car with a sense of awareness of who you are. And then you must drive them to where you are going. Don't let them drive you to where they want to go. And what I'm going to try to bring this home and make this more practical. How do you do this with banking? I will not advise anyone to put their money at home over putting their money in the bank, because you always deal with fiat money. That's the truth. Maybe we'll come to a world where money becomes totally digital, but we're not there yet. I don't even think we'll be there in the next 10, 20 years. I don't think so. And I could be wrong on that. I'm not an expert on digital currency. But then for now, as at today, in 2024, we are still dealing with fiat money. We are still dealing with paper money. Notes and coins and stuff like that are still very much in existence, and they are still legal tender. Now, should you store your money at home because banks are, plant an insecurity of you do not know how to manage your own resources and manage your wealth? No, I don't think so. What I think we ought to do is use the bank for what they actually do better than you, which is secure your money or secure the concept of your money. You understand? The banks do a better job than you in securing your money. So your money might actually be safer in a bank than it would be with you. So if you had 100 million naira, I think that's even a lot. If you had 1 million naira and you kept it in your house, it's safer in a bank than in your house. I'm talking about like literal safety right now. Because once you have 1 million naira in your house, depending on who you're living with, you could wake up one day and it's missing. Your neighbors no one could break into your house, is missing. Fire, missing. Rodents eat it, gone. You understand? So the bank is safer. It's a safer place, and you must use the bank's security. This is what I'm going to tell you. You must use the bank's security. Don't make the bank your security. Use their security. And I'll explain what that means. Use their security because their security is way better. They have in terms of physical security, they have security agencies working for them 24 hours round the clock. They have safes that are fireproof to keep money in. They have CCTV cameras that work 24 hours. For you as an individual, you cannot afford to install this level of security in your residence if you're just a regular person like me. You understand? You cannot afford to to put that in for 1 million naira that you have, even for 100K in your house. You can't afford to put like 4 or 5 CC cameras in your house. Hire a security outfit to secure your house from morning till night, 24/7. You cannot afford the safes that these banks are using. When you are moving your money around, you cannot afford a bullion van. You cannot stop traffic legally. You can't do all these things, but the banks can do that. When they move the concept of your money, and why I'm saying the concept of your money is the bank doesn't have any special drawer for your money. So when you do take your money there, there is no special drawer. You're not getting that money back. In fact, once you turn your back, they could give that particular money to someone else. It's a concept that you brought an amount of money to a bank that you need to secure. You understand? The bank does dealings with your money. And so what they do is whenever you come for your money, they take whatever money is available and give it to you. It is not actually the money you took there. That's what I'm saying, the concept of your money. As opposed to money you keep in your house, is the money you are being paid that you spend from. It's that money. That money doesn't change. It's not renewed. It's not anything. It is that money. If that money gets burnt, it gets burnt. That money doesn't exist anymore. If that happens in a bank, that concept of that money will be replaced with other money available. So you won't even know that that money was eaten by rodents or got stolen or got burnt in any way. So the bank does a good job in securing your money. Use the bank for a place to secure your money. Use their security, but don't make them your security. And this is what I mean by making the bank your security. Don't let what you have in the bank account determine how secure you are in your esteem as a human being. That's where the danger is. I see a lot of people where the bank now becomes their security, and now a lot of people judge their lives and like, see how old I am. This particular age, but then how much can I say I have in the bank? You understand? So a lot of people say that to themselves. You understand? Where like, man, I'm almost 40, I'm 40, I'm 30, and I cannot say I have 100K in my account. That's always a funny statement for people to make. It kind of tells me that the bank has become your security. What you have in the bank has become an extension of how you see yourself. And then if that happens, then the bank has control. It begins to limit your life because you begin to stack up money to put it in this place that forms an image of you, a financial image of you. And so, I've seen internet shows where a man is trying to impress a woman and the woman is saying, "What are you worth? Let's show me your bank account, show me your bank balance." And then the men too, come out, put up their phones from their pockets and show them their bank account. And like, okay, all right, I'm pretty impressed with what you have. That's a very shallow way of judging a human being. And so, for a man like that, or a woman that sees people like that, what they're always going to try to do is to stock up what they have in the bank. You never want to see your bank account go down, because once your bank account starts going down, your self-esteem will begin to reduce. And so the bank got you. They got you in that place where they've become your security. And so, without even trying to prompt you, you just automatically keep taking money in there and accumulating. I think where you must take control is to understand that the bank secures for your money to be available when you need to use it. So it's okay to take money to the bank today and go and get it out tomorrow. The bank won't like it, but remember, you are in the driver's seat of your life. Driver's seat of your life. So you must be able to go there and say, I bought this money yesterday, I want to get it today, I need to go and make this transaction. And don't feel bad about it. I remember putting money in the bank before when me and my wife got married, and when we had our first kid. We were not particularly like putting money away, but the money we kind of got as gifts and stuff during our child's naming ceremony. Being our first child, we got quite a lot of monetary gift, and it was so much money, so we put it in the bank. I'll put it in the bank towards when she will start her school, when she starts schooling. And we said this would be the first where we'll get her school fees from. You understand? So we did that. So the money, so we didn't keep the money in the house, we kept it in the bank, and we used their security. And I remember going there, I opened a special account for her, and the bank was so willing to collect that money I'd given towards my child's school fees. Because she had not, but she had not yet started school. She didn't start school till 3 years old. And when we put the money in there, when she started school, I went to the bank, to go and get the money that I put there for that purpose, to pay her school fees, and she had started school. And I remember going to the bank and saying I wanted to withdraw money from that account. I remember this teller telling me, "Sir, are you sure you want to do that? I won't advise you to do that." And I was pretty upset. I said, number one, you're not my financial advisor. I didn't ask your opinion on this. I didn't tell her in those words, but then I told her, no, 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 I'm really in a rush right now. I really need to get this money. I don't have time for this pitch you're about to give to me. And she was like, no, don't take this money. Remember, this money is for your daughter. Keep it, just keep stacking it up. And I looked at it, I said, this is my money. I can come anytime I want for it. I put it here not without your advice. I put it here for when my daughter starts school, and she has started school. So I'm here to get the money. And she was so hesitant to give me that money. She was like, no, sir, you don't touch this money, let it grow. And that's why I realized, hey, am I really in the driver's seat here? Because I'm telling this person I'm going this direction, and the person saying, are you sure you want to go that direction? And I that revealed a lot to me. I ended up getting the money, and I said, look, I'm taking the money. I don't care what you're saying. You understand? But that's what the bank wants you to do, to continue to leave your money there and probably die. You understand? Probably die. That you must understand this, that the biggest dream of the bank is for you to keep money there and die suddenly. You understand? And tell as little people as possible about how much money you have there. That's the ultimate client arc, character arc for the ideal client for the bank. Leave a huge deal of money there, and by some means, maybe just pass away. And there isn't really anybody that knows that money is there. That's the ideal client. And I want you to have that in the back of your mind every time you deal with the bank. So once you have money there you're not using, just consider you could die anytime. How many people know about how much is there? And it's not going to be very easy for them to get it. Don't just think you have them as next of kin. It's going to be easy. They're going to have to jump a lot of hoops to get what belongs to you or what belongs to them after you're gone. So what I'm trying to say is use the bank for security. Don't use them as your security. There are a lot of people, and this is where I believe that people are very stack-up minded as opposed to being startup minded. You understand? Now, when I'm by startup minded, they don't have any dreams, any assignment. So you're just stacking up money. You don't know what you're stacking it up for. So a lot of people are scared to touch what's in their bank account. They're scared because they believe once they touch it and that account depletes, that bank account depletes, in terms of the amount of money in it, they believe their esteem is affected. That is a very faulty mentality. If you have that mentality, the bank has got you. They've got you exactly where they want you. Never put out money just to stack up so that you can feel you are safe. It is not a wise thing to do. And that is exactly what the Bible talks about in parable of the rich fool. This man was just stacking away just to build his sense of esteem and his sense of personal security. It is okay to not have anything in your bank account. I would say it's okay. It might not be ideal, but it's okay. And you must allow yourself some time to breathe. It's not about how much you don't have in your bank account. It's what you spent the money. What did you spend the money in your bank account doing? Very important. I remember the first 100,000 naira I made when I started working as a designer. And up until that time, I never had 100,000 naira in my account. Never. My account was always like 10,000, 20,000 at best. So I used to imagine when people used to tell me they used to make 200,000 naira as a salary. But then I'd never experienced that. But when the first time I got paid 100,000 by a man I did some branding for and packaging, and I put that money in my account. The moment I put that money in my account, I realized that that amount of money became a control for me. It started to control me. I became more conscious about keeping that account at 100K or 100K plus than actually doing something with the money. My ambition now became to keep that status of myself, that over 100K in the bank account, than actually doing something productive with the 100K. And at the point, I just had to think to myself, what am I doing? I'm here, I have this money in the account, what do I need? And at that point, I didn't have a personal laptop. So I put all that money to get a personal laptop, and my account went from over 100K, which was a lot of money to me then, to being almost 0 naira in the account again. And then, that's where I started to realize that the bank had become my security. You understand? And I want to tell someone out there today, your bank account is not a reflection of who you are in terms of worth. You understand? A lot of times, a lot of people with a lot in their bank account might actually be a reflection of them not really having things they actually want to do with their lives or projects they actually want to get done. You understand? There's more a person that is able to go to their account and use it for what they ought to, what they want to use it for, what they ought to use it for, has more freedom than someone that just says, I don't want to touch this money. I don't want to touch this money. Do you understand? People with that rainy day mindset, as sometimes they've lost their freedom. You understand? A lot of times they've lost their freedom, and the bank has now become their security. They're no longer using the security of the bank. The bank has now become their security. And this is the same thing when it comes to schooling and religious institutions. The thing with schooling is there are way too many people out there that just want to get into school without knowing what their interest is. And I'm talking here about maybe tertiary education, getting into a higher institution. There are a lot of people that would just want to get into a university because they don't want to sit down at home. You don't sit down at home, so you just go into university and study anything. And this has messed up the trajectory of their lives because school has told them sitting down at home as opposed to being in school, studying something, anything, is a waste of time. That is a lie. That is a lie. I do believe that it's better to know what your interest is before jumping into school. Very important. The earlier you know what your interest, what your innate skills, innate abilities, your passions are, those ones you cannot explain why you're so good at them, that's when you should go to school. And that's why I believe a lot of kids started school way too early. For a lot of all our kids, none of them started school till they were at least 3 years old. 3 years old. None of our kids started school till they were 3 years old. And that was very intentional by me and my wife to stay and watch our kids and find out what's special about them, what they can do, what they have to offer, what we need to concentrate on. And this cost me and my wife quite a lot, because for you to watch your kids, you cannot be too busy. And that means we had to turn down some jobs, and we had to look less ambitious than other people. But we knew it was very important to give our kids that head start, to understand where they were special, so we could tell them. Because every human being gets to a point where you don't know what's special about you. There's something called see finish. It's worse with yourself. You see yourself and you don't even know what's special. This is where parenting comes in. Every parent should be the first school of their child. And that school focuses on noticing what the child's natural propensity is. There's an architect I respect so much. He was an American architect, Frank Lloyd Wright. And I remember reading his story, and he talked about how his mother really influenced him in his early days with architecture. And he said his mother realized that he liked to play with building blocks. He just had this affinity for building blocks, and so she supplied it to him, feeding his natural propensity for order, arrangements, space. And he ended up being one of the most notable, influential architects, you understand, of a generation. If you see his buildings that he built about 100 years ago, they look like they were built yesterday. But you see, it was something a parent noticed from very young. I saw a video yesterday about a boy in China, an 11-year-old boy, launched a rocket. You understand? I think from his backyard or something. He created it himself. Never went to school to study physics or, some form of engineering. But his father realized that at the age of, I think, 8 or so, he took him somewhere to watch a rocket launch. And he saw the boy's eyes well up. And the boy's eyes like, whoa. And the boy, since that day, just was walking and was watching YouTube videos on how to create rockets and how to, he was learning from YouTube, not from school. Because school was teaching him what the average 8-year-old ought to know. But his interest was teaching him what the engineer in him wanted to know. And by 11, he had created his own rocket that he could launch. Incredible. Imagine what this boy will be doing by the time he's 25. Imagine what he will be doing. And that's because he now knows what path he needs to use school for. You need to use school the same way you use the bank. Don't let them use you. Don't let school tell you who you are. Tell the school who you are and where you are going. So a lot of people have made the school their security to their own detriment. And what does this mean? People feel they are the grade they come out with. Oh, I'm a first class this, so I'm entitled to a job. I finished with a 2-1, I'm entitled to a job. But school, don't get disappointed in yourself if you didn't come out with a grade that the school gave you. What you should ask yourself is, have I learned what I wanted to get from the school? Do I have the information I came in here with that helps me to develop my personal innate abilities and skills? The grades don't matter. What matters is the information you need to help you develop those innate abilities. Just like this little boy in China who developed built a rocket at 11. He already knows what he wants to use school for. So you won't see him go to school to study arts or see him go to school to study medicine. He already knows that he needs more information to build better rockets. So he might go to study something more engineering related. Would it really matter what certificate he comes out with? No, it doesn't really matter. What he wants to know is, has he gotten the information that allows him to build better rockets? That's what really matters. I see too many school graduates not knowing what they went to school to get. They are more concerned about who the school says they are. So they are no longer in control. No longer in control. They've lost their freedom. The only thing they have to show is their certificate from a school that tells them they are excellent at something for which they have no natural inclination. Put the school in the passenger's seat. You'll be in the driver's seat. Use it. Take it where you want. Take it where you want. I remember reading about Steve Jobs and him when he went to university. He was like, I'm learning all these other courses that I don't really have an interest in. Why are they making me sit down for courses that I don't really have an interest in? And I remember he was telling his partner then, Steve Wozniak, and Steve Wozniak said, that's what the university is about. They make you learn what you don't have an interest in. You learn things you have interested in, and you have to learn it with a bunch of other things you're not interested in. And Steve Jobs told his friend Steve Wozniak, I'm not interested in that kind of school. I'm not interested in a school that doesn't give me the freedom to only focus on what I'm interested in. And then he decided to do school his own way and started dropping into classes that he found interesting. And a lot of those classes were the classes he ended up using in positioning Apple to what it is. We need to have the freedom to use school. Don't be disillusioned by the grades. The grades, just like the bank account, can become our security. Don't be disillusioned by them. The same thing with religion. And I think I've done a lot of podcasts on religion and on faith. And I think you should take time to listen to it. But then what I want to emphasize here is the fact that you must understand that religion starts from you. Faith starts from within you. Your interpersonal relationship with God is more important than that external thing that you get from a spiritual leader. The first spiritual leader is your soul. That's your first manual for existence and your first compass in life. The height of spirituality is connection with the soul. And I've said this a lot on podcasts, that the soul has all the answers. But a lot of people still feel the answers are with a bishop, a pastor, an imam, a guru, somebody out there that they feel is more connected to God than them. Your closest connection to God is through your soul. Your soul has your passions, has your intuitions, has your creativity, has your memories. We need to learn to harness the soul as the first and the most fundamental element of faith and connection with God. Well, a lot of people do not have that. They do not have that. If you cannot pray for yourself and you need somebody to always pray for you, then there's the problem. If you have more confidence in someone's prayer than you have in your personal prayer, then you've lost your freedom. You are now a slave to that person. You'll be manipulated by that person. You are at the mercy of that person. The strongest prayer is always the personal one. You and God. Remember, you have to be in the driver's seat. Use religious institutions as a place of fellowship and validation, where you have people with like minds that share their own personal experiences with you too, that align with yours, so that you know that you are not insane. They do not act as a compass. They act as a source of validation that you are on the right path. Do not use religious organizations as your compass. Your compass is within you. It's your soul. So I'm not advocating for people to stop going to church. I don't think that's the answer. I think there is a need for fellowship. There is a need for fellowship. But fellowship is a place of encouragement. Fellowship is a place um, of validation. Fellowship is a place of sharing. It must be a place where you feel you can share, where you feel you can serve. Very important. So I must let us know that the loss of personal freedom is the loss of self, is the death of self. So we must learn to use these institutions and not let them use us. Don't let them use you. Be in the driver's seat. It's okay for them to be passengers. Take them to where you are going, not where they are going. And in the end, you'll realize that you live a much happier, focused, fulfilled life. My name is Tola T.A. Alabi, and you'll be listening to my podcast, ProUp Masterclass.